What if I told you that there's a stupid simple formula to follow to maximize or increase your natural muscle growth capacity? But to understand that formula, we first need to understand the programming variables that make up that formula, just like in math class. So which variable actually determines your natural muscle growth capacity? Is it volume, like Dr. Mike would say? Is it frequency, like the science-based TikTok kids are preaching? You need to understand that volume and frequency, even though are very important, which I'll go into a bit more detail later, only determine your muscle growth rate in the short term, while your exercise selection determines your muscle growth capacity in the long term. For example, if you would perform 3 sets of one exercise for a specific muscle 3 times per week, you are fast-tracking your progress in the short term as you're maximizing volume and frequency at the same time. But due to you having a minimalistic exercise selection and you're only biasing one region of muscle, let's say you're only doing one mid-chest exercise, due to that lack of exercise variation, you are, again, fast-tracking your progress for that specific mid-chest in the short term, but in the long term, you will not grow your chest as maximally as possible holistically. Now, on the other hand, if you would perform one set of 2 to 3 exercises for the chest, so one mid-chest exercise, upper chest and lower chest exercise, but you would perform that exercise less than 3 times per week, so 2 times per week, even though you have less frequency and less capacity for growth in the short term, as you have less frequency again, and you're distributing that volume across different muscle regions instead of just spamming mid-chest exercise, you have a higher muscle growth capacity for the whole chest in the long term as you're maximally biasing each region of the chest. That is because muscle growth and muscle atrophy is muscle fiber specific. For example, if you would train your chest 2 times per week, but you would alternate your exercises each session instead of doing the same exercise every session, and you would do a mid-chest exercise on one day and upper chest exercise on the other, you are hitting your whole chest 2 times per week, but you're only biasing each region of the chest 1 time per week. So you have a bit higher frequency for the whole chest, but you're essentially doing a bro split for each specific region of the chest. Of course, it's not the exact same as a bro split, because you are still hitting your chest more often than just 1 time per week, so you're not limiting yourself via that atrophy. But you can imagine your chest and those muscle fibers that are overlapping like a Venn diagram. So some muscle fibers in both exercises overlap, but those very high threshold motor units, which are responsible for that untapped growth, which you don't have right now, are on that outer side of the Venn diagram, which won't get hit in those 2 sessions. You would only hit those muscle fibers if you would perform the same exercise in every single session. If muscle growth is muscle fiber specific, muscle atrophy is too. So again, you can imagine the Venn diagram, all those muscle fibers that you're not hitting in those both sessions, but you're only hitting in that one session, will atrophy till the next session or the next week, because you're again not hitting those high threshold motor units, which are very, very important for maximizing muscle growth and developing a specific area as maximally as possible. Again, you're not isolating a muscle when you do an upper chest, mid-chest exercise, but you're biasing it. And if you're not biasing that muscle region every single time that you train, no matter how often that is, whether that's 2 or 3 times, you will not grow that specific area as maximally as possible due to the Venn diagram. You will only grow those specific muscle fibers which slightly overlap, but that will not cause you to maximize your muscle growth potential. And in practical terms, this simply means that you should not ever train with session variations, contrary to popular belief, if you want to actually maximize your muscle growth potential, as you need to hit every single muscle fiber that you can possibly bias in every session to actually benefit of the higher frequencies that you're training at. Of course, I don't want to make bold statements. Let's get some more nuance in. You could possibly train with different session variations if you actually know how to choose the right exercises. For example, let's say on day 1 you do a wide grip press and an upper chest fly, and on day 2 you do a close grip press, so you're hitting that upper chest, and a normal mid chest fly. Of course, you're hitting both regions of the chest, upper and mid, on both sessions, so you could possibly get away with that. But first, to apply this correctly for every single muscle region and every single session, it would be rather hard if you don't have a coach, if you don't know exactly what you're doing. So the margin of error is much higher than just repeating the same session. And also, if you want to be really nitty-gritty, which I am, you're still missing out on some untapped muscle fibers, those high threshold motor units, which are very important again, because you're alternating the exercise, and each exercise reaches a specific muscle fiber that you cannot hit with another exercise. For example, a fly will always be better than a chest press, meaning that the fly hits some muscle fibers that you cannot hit with a chest press. And if you're hitting the same muscle region every single session, but you're alternating the specific exercise, fly and press, you're still like not hitting that specific muscle fiber. Again, I'm being really nitty-gritty. You're not hitting specific muscle fiber every single time. Now, if you have more examples, if you would do a unilateral exercise on one day and the bilateral exercise on the other, or if you would change the resistance profile up for each specific exercise in each session, there's still like some difference and still some muscle fibers that you're not hitting, just like you would in like a fly and the press in that example, you know? And as you can imagine, this makes the shit just too fucking complicated and too unnecessary to even think about. Like, literally just pick an exercise you enjoy and do that fucking shit every single time, okay? By the way, if you suffer of chronic paralysis by analysis due to watching all of these videos online and you want to fast track your progress in the most efficient and effective way possible, make sure to click the links down below to start working with me. Now let's come to the GainsMaxxing formula so you can actually get freaking fucking huge, okay? So we have exercise selection, we have frequency, and we have volume. So all of these three factors, if you optimize them, will allow you to reach your muscle growth potential. But which of these three variables are the most important? How should you order them in importance? How should you synergize them to allow you to grow as maximum muscle as possible? I know I spoiled it a bit. Exercise selection in the long run is the absolute most important. You can be somewhat in the ballpark of semi-optimal volume, semi-optimal frequency. Okay, you don't have to be perfect there. But if your exercise selection and exercise variety to hit every single muscle region in your body is absolutely on point, you will maximize muscle potential in the long run, no matter how the fuck you train. Now, the second most important is frequency. We know that 1 time per week frequency is absolute dog shit because all the stimulus that you've created is essentially gone after that 1 week of rest. 2 times per week frequency is like the middle ground. If you hit at least 2 times per week frequency for all muscles, you're absolutely set and you don't have to worry, again, if your exercise selection is on point. But if you actually want to absolutely maximize as best as possible, a 3 times per week frequency will be better than a 2 times per week frequency due to maximizing the first most limiting set of a session and minimizing atrophy. And the same mechanisms that make 2 times per week frequency superior to 1 time per week frequency make 3 times per week frequency superior to 2 times per week frequency. But even if a 3 times per week frequency and full body every other day, as everyone is preaching nowadays, is the absolute best split on paper, if you cannot actually execute all the specific exercises and hitting all specific muscle regions of your body as maximally as possible in every single session, and your exercise selection therefore takes a hit, even though you are hitting that 3 times per week frequency, which is so important, you will not actually maximize your muscle potential, as again, the exercise selection is more important than the frequency itself. So upper lower split or a push-pull full body split where you're just hitting a 2 times per week frequency would be better if you can actually have a large variety of exercise selection than a minimalistic 1 exercise per muscle full body split. Or another option would be to train upper lower or push-pull full body 4 days or 6 days in a row, then take a rest day and repeat, as you will essentially hit that 3 times per week frequency like in a full body split, but you don't have that much rest days. This will allow you to have shorter sessions, to have a larger variety of exercise selection. I won't go too deep into this topic as I'll make another whole separate video about these high frequency splits. Last but not least, volume. You've probably heard also from me that the first set is the absolute most stimulating, and even if that's true and there's some fall off of productivity in the sets that come after the first one, if you just do 1 set, even if it's 3 times per week and you're frequency maxing, you're not actually maximizing muscle potential because you want to hit as much volume as you could possibly recover from in each and every single session. You can imagine 3 sets, 2 times per week will absolutely outwork 1 set 3 times per week. The volume recommendation for 3 times per week frequency is 1 to 3 sets, and for 2 times per week frequency, 2 to 5 sets. But don't ever spam volume in the exception of frequency and exercise selection. If you cannot get those 2 other factors locked in first, don't think about adding volume, okay? Now the formula and practice to write your own program as effectively as possible will be the following. First, you want to optimize the exercise selection. Instead of choosing a split or a frequency, just write down every single fucking exercise that you need to do to maximize your muscular potential for your specific dream body, which I'll go into a bit more detail in a second. Then actually try and see how you can actually perform all of these exercises sustainably in a specific split. If you can, do all of these exercises with a full body split as often as possible. That is absolutely perfect on paper. But if you cannot, then split those exercises up into upper lower or push-pull full body. As long as you're doing all of the exercise required to maximize your specific muscular potential, then you're set, okay? Don't worry about frequency, optimal split. there's the exercise selection is the absolute most important. And then after you've set up your exercise selection and you've found your specific frequency and your split, you can then proceed to add volume if you have some more room left and you want to fast track your progress in a specific muscle region. For example, if you have 2 exercises for your elbow flexors, you have a bicep specific exercise and you have a brachioradialis specific exercise for just 1 set now, and you want to slightly fast track your progress for the bicep specifically, but not for the brachioradialis, then just add 1 set, so doing 2 sets for the biceps, but just sticking with 1 set for the brachioradialis because you don't want to fast track your progress for that. Then just rinse and repeat. See which muscle regions you want to fast track your progress in, as long as you stay within that optimal frequency X volume zone and you're not overdoing it, and how you can actually sustain this session. But before you actually do that for every single muscle group and you burn yourself into the ground because you've created an unsustainable program in the pursuit of maximizing muscle growth, there's no need to go absolutely all out for every single muscle group in your entire body, okay? Maximizing muscle growth is arbitrary. You need to know what your dream body is, and you need to know how to actually modify your program in a specific way to reach that dream body by maybe prioritizing one muscle group over the other, being very maximalistic with exercise selection, volume, and so on for that specific muscle group, and being rather minimalistic with another specific muscle group, which will allow you to have a more sustainable and practical program instead of being absolutely hypnotized with the possibility of maximizing everything, okay? That won't work for 99% of people. You can split your exercise selection up into 3 tiers. First one being a minimalistic exercise selection, so picking the most bang for your buck exercise for a specific muscle, okay? The second tier would be a semi-maximalist approach. Maybe for the chest again, you have 3 regions that you have to bias, but you only want to bias 2 regions, so the mid and upper chest. You can absolutely do that if you don't need more. Then the absolute maximalist approach would be hitting every single muscle region of a specific muscle for the chest again, upper, mid, and lower chest exercise. So that you know how to actually do this in practice. I've now written down the minimalist, semi-maximalist, and absolute maximalist approach for every single muscle group, so you know which joint actions, which exercises you need to hit to get absolutely freaking jacked. By the way, if you suffer of chronic paralysis by analysis due to watching all of these videos online and you want to fast track your progress in the most efficient and effective way possible, make sure to click the links down below to start working with me. See you in the next video.